Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Unity Through Diversity. This is our traditional, original podcast that we bring guests on to share their personal story, use personal story to encourage and empower the audience. So, welcome, Dallas. And today, this morning, we're going to we call two humans have a conversation. So, how are you, Dallas, this morning?
I'm terrific, Gina. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit where you're from, and let's start from there. And what you've been busy with in your life. Let's start from here.
Okay, let's begin even before that by saying, let's go to unity to begin.
Cool. I love it. I love it.
And the unity is in agreement.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the basis of unity. It is an agreement.
Yeah.
So I'm asking for you and I to have this agreement.
Cool.
Based on this question, what do we want? What does every human being want? What is the destination of every single person on this planet? And I would suggest it is love, happiness, and beauty. It is what we are made of.
Yes.
And that everyone seeks to get to that peaceful mind, beautiful life, happy. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And you touch unity. Actually, our podcast called diversity, unity through diversity. And I think when I channeled this name 2020, because I was like, I need a podcast, but I don't have a name. And I was sitting in the meditation and it came to me, unity through diversity, so the diversity, like you said, the beauty to anybody, because we all have different glasses in front of us. Depends. Now we talk about story. I know we are sharing the story. Depends on where people come from, what kind of story they carry, but there's some common theme. Everybody want to feel loved, or they want capacity to love other people, right? Like both ways. And the beauty, I totally agree, because if you don't see the beauty in things, you kind of lose. Your world is black, white, gray, so that's actually, it's very resonated. And everybody wants, it depends on who you ask. But like the common theme, it doesn't matter what kind of thing, what kind of, physical thing or spiritual thing. Those are the feelings people want, feel like, right? So yes, I totally agree.
Right. So we begin with that agreement that the destination is to be this happy, loving human being.
Yes.
And so then we have to say, what is in the way? What is stopping us from being that right now, in the moment, for every human being alive? And it's the same thing that's in the way. It is our story. You are a story. I am a story.
Yes.
Everything that has happened to us since our birth has added to a story. And we reach a certain age where we start to identify as the story. The story becomes who I am. I meet Gina at a party. I'm introduced and I say, nice to meet you, Gina. Tell me something about yourself. The self you start telling me about is a story. It's not the human being that Gina is. It's the story about the human being. And so we live in our stories. Our entire lives are based on yesterday, history, the past, everything we've been through.
Yes.
And so, like I think every human being, I suffered through traumas, emotional and physical bullying. I came out of my childhood knowing I was not smart. I was incapable. I was a failure, a loser, not good enough, not worthy. And that's called emotional baggage.
Yes.
We pack those experiences into a bag and we throw it over our shoulder and we start walking forward through life. But that bag is there and it weighs on us and it's always present in the background, usually supported by an ego, or what I call the deceiver in our mind. And I call this the story mind, because it is our story that we start living through, and it's ever present. And if there's enough pain, as there was in my life, you go to a first addiction, to a way to medicate the pain. And I believe this first addiction is every human's first addiction, and it's called blame.
Mm.
I blame my past. I blame school. I blame the church. I blamed Boy Scouts and camp counselors. I blamed everyone for my pain. As I grow in life, I start blaming friends. I blame my partner in a relationship. I blame my children. I blame the boss. I blame the government. I blame the economy. Some people go through their whole life blaming the outside world for everything they struggle with. And why is this an addiction? Because it's a defensive mechanism to keep us away from our own responsibility, which would mean facing the reality of our story. This self-image that we have, we protect it with masks every day. I go to work and I put on a certain mask so no one knows the real story or the baggage. And this is how we go through life. And for some people, they can go through life all the way to the end like that and never face it.
Yep.
The pain got good enough or strong enough, bad enough for me that I needed a stronger medication. And so I went to alcohol. And alcohol becomes this addiction that you can't seem to stop. And it itself doesn't even weigh enough. And so I need drugs to add to the alcohol, to keep medicating the pain and keep it away. And this goes on for years until your entire nervous system builds a pressure from this baggage, this pain, and it has to be released. And our bodies express what is stressed in the mind. And so for me, I finally got lucky. 25 years into a terrible marriage of two alcoholic, drug abusing, angry people, I got super lucky. I woke up one morning in the pandemic with cancer. This was a fantastic thing to happen to me, of course, in retrospect. But over the 12 months that I call the year of life collapse, from the day I woke up to cancer and the day I woke up alone, in between was surgery and treatment, my wife and I separating, losing my house, my business, my family in any way you can imagine it being a family, and waking up alone, broken, and suicidal, and still an alcoholic. Exactly the day 12 months later. That year is the greatest year of my life. Nothing comes close to how wonderful I look at that year now, because that year opened a door for me to see outside of my story. It allowed me to look away from my story mind for the first time in my life. And so I returned to this. Everything about us is yesterday. I call human beings yesterday people because everything comes from our yesterday. We believe in it. It is who we are. It is everything we know. And I'm listening to a podcast one morning in the depths of this despair. And a man on the podcast is talking about consciousness. He says one line. Gina, have you ever seen in movies people go, "Oh, hit me like a bolt of lightning"?
Yeah.
I always thought that's so silly, just Hollywood. That doesn't happen to human beings. It happened. I mean, stunning. I'm chopping vegetables, making dinner. And
So what did he say?
I dropped the knife. I almost fell to my knees.
Yeah.
All he said was this: show me yesterday. That was it. My brain right away connected to the story mind and all the pain and all the suffering that had brought me to this point. And I had to rationally say to myself, where is it? Show me yesterday. Go to the cupboard, pull it out, and put it in front of Gina and say, look, Gina, here's yesterday. There is nothing. I can't go get anything. What is the reality of yesterday? What was the reality of my story? How could my belief in a story take me to the edge of death? How is this possible that a human being can believe a story? there's no reality to it. I was abused 50 years ago. I'm not being abused today. So how did it get here to hurt me today? I picked it up. I put it in that baggage. I carried it with me for 50 years. I'm responsible for my trauma, not for the act of it happening, but for the act of it living in my life. I am suddenly completely laid bare and naked to the world of my responsibility. It was such a shock, and at first scary as hell. But the reality of it quickly became apparent. I believed a lie. Stories aren't true, they're just beliefs. I had a drinking buddy for 10 years. We met every day after work at the bar and sit and drink. And he had lots of disorders and diagnoses and had been on different medications. And he went all the way to the street level, homeless, addicted, at the edge of death. And I had lost track of him and assumed he was dead. About a year ago, I ran into him in a coffee shop. And just stunning. I look up and he's just completely normal looking, an average everyday person. And I was just full on, Gary. I was stunned. He's even alive. We sit down and talk. I said, well, what's happened? What went on? What's your story? And he said, I don't really remember the streets much. It's pretty much a blur of, destruction, the train wreck that life could be. But he said he connected with a guy preaching religion. And so his fundamental reality was he was saved, Jesus saved me kind of attitude. And we talked about it because I'm writing this book, The Story Mind. And right away I said, God didn't save you. Religion didn't save you. Jesus didn't save you. A better story saved you. I believed in a story that almost killed me. He changed his story. He changed the outcome. We are stories in our lives. And the dramatic picture becomes any human being alive. Look into the face of a newborn baby. After they've been weighed, measured, wrapped in a warm towel, and put on mom's chest. Look into the face of that baby, and what do we all see? Every last one of us sees the same thing. We see love, beauty, and happiness. Now, I'm going to suggest we don't see the baby. We see our hearts, our true being, reflected in the baby's face. We're seeing who we truly are. Now, 3 months ago, my mother died. 2 hours before her death, I looked into her face. What did I see? I saw the baby's face. I saw my heart reflected. I saw love and beauty, and I was filled with happiness. Not terror, not fear, not remorse, not loss. I saw life in the beginning and at the end. In between, we get entangled in the drama, the story. And that's all it is a story to believe or disbelieve, to change our beliefs in. You believed things 10 years ago, Gina, that you don't believe today. You will believe things in 10 years that you don't believe today. So what is the essence, the truth of belief? There isn't any truth in belief. It is just belief. Your thoughts?
I have so many different thoughts here because I feel like I would have you to complete the part you want to share. And I did some notes here. I feel like their story is very powerful in the human form because we like, when we watch movie, watch TV, right? Anything we make sense of it. When we watch movie, sometimes we lost in the story because we put ourselves into it. We literally felt that we were watching a movie last night. I'm like, oh, now the whole night I was thinking about the role, the actor. I become that actor or actress. Story is such a powerful way. I'm totally agree. The story, the belief, right? What you believe is what you manifest. That's the belief work I do, healing work. Let's say Zeta healing. I work on people believe all the time, and I 100% agree with something I didn't believe 10 years ago is something that I believe today. And now we're constantly upgrading our belief system, and those belief system help you to actually less the baggage you carry. Those stories I carry so many stories, like you said, everything you said, you're not good enough, not worthy, not being heard, seen in a toxic relationship, right? Marriage, suicidal thoughts, everything you were saying, I went through, but in a different story way. Just like
Yes.
that's why is these days in Hollywood or the story, there's a book that how people tell their story. And I realized that when our human beings live our own story, those movies are where the movies come from. Movies are taking some material from a real life person's story, but they exaggerate it to some a dramatic way, right? So
And this is, when people will say to me, well, it's not just a story, it's real life. And I will say, Hollywood is a fabulous example for us to understand how much we are a story.
yes,
The reason we can connect to the movie and even bring ourselves to tears, deep emotional connection, the
yeah.
reason is because we are a story. That is why we connect. We are living in stories. And I would say, when you made the comment that we've all been through these same sort of things and different, we are all living the same story. We are 8 billion chefs cooking the same recipe, but every chef, the outcome of the recipe is a little different. It tastes a little different. It looks a little different. It may have a different aroma, but we're all
Yeah.
cooking the same recipe.
I always share with people that not meant to like interrupt you. However, you reminds me of something that I shared with a friend long ago. And the thing I mentioned to say, because that life is an equation, right? This math equation. Through this math equation, that's the outcome, that's a number. But everybody solves this equation is fairly different. Just like you're talking about same thing, you're cooking this thing, but like I also cook fried rice here, right? People is like, oh, share with me your recipe. I was like, go ahead, because they would never ever make the same way I
That's
made it.
right.
It's just the
That's right.
special, the temperature, my judgment, my perspective, everything. I was like, the recipe is not a secret. It's how you make it is the
Yes.
secret. And you have
Yes.
your own secret because there's no another Gina, there's no another Dallas in this whole world. So I think that's why I have this platform to help people share them story. And of course, there are part, let's say your story, I can resonate like 80% because the feelings uh, you say those feelings that I went through too. Now, the important part is actually the second, no, those questions I'm going to ask you now is now we all agree we have story, right? Everybody have story. Everybody lived in a story, living that story, and try to create a rewrite that story for their future. Now, how they get through that story is different. So now
Yeah.
this is the part of the you're gonna share with us how you navigate those story. Like, okay, 2020 is a very great year for me too, because everything happened for me in 2020 that I didn't know what the heck was going on. Seriously, it was a
Yeah. Yeah.
serious event of stuff just happening. But then when 2021 hit, I looking back, this is probably the best year ever. That it's literally I see the past version me and the new version me, and it's this different, the story we are having different story. But I really appreciated that older story I care because otherwise I will not get to the moment. But the point here is not everybody needs to wake up and realize they have cancer. Not everybody wake up and me is, oh, who am I that like totally complete loss and I went through depression, right? Like that was I because I didn't know I was depressed until I was out of it. So then I was like, I couldn't even tell people because then when I was in it, I would not even see myself as depressed. But that feeling of the hopeless, helpless, not heard, being understand, everything was a mix of killing me every day, every ounce of me. And until I hit the turning point, I asked God, creator, whoever, right? You can say whoever. I was okay. Since I could not leave this world because I have two young children, then what? Then you gotta show me how. When you surrender yourself, is my story. Is I literally went through surrender because the family I came from is very controlling. My dad is such a great person, but he also has such great characters that I also adopted. He's living through me, inside me, everything. Then I had no idea how to break that thing, but surrender. I didn't know how to surrender. But until that moment when I tried everything Gina way, saw that I couldn't figure out, I was like, okay, whoever's out there, you got to show me because I run out of all the choices, the solutions that I could see. But I have blind spots. Then life start changing, shifting, and I become the person today. But what is your side of, story of like, of course, you wake up, you realize you have cancer. How you from, how to say that, rise above, right? We call Phoenix rising. The older version, you have to let it go, let it be. I don't want to say let it go. I usually say let it be. How can you accept that's your reality? And okay, here's where I'm at and where I want to be. So I want to know how did you do that on your end?
Well, I'd first say that I believe there is no healing.
Tell
No
me
one
why.
heals. No one heals from anything. I didn't heal from alcoholism. I left it. There's a huge difference. I didn't heal. We've had 100 years of psychotherapy, psychiatry, psychology, and talk therapy and drug use. 100 years, the greatest minds put to it. And where are we 100 years later? It has been a complete and utter failure. There are more people today on psychoactive drugs than ever before. More people in talk therapy than ever before. More young people struggling with their mental health than ever before in history. And yet we believe in this healing. There is no healing. That is proof we cannot heal. In fact, I think this 100 years of psychotherapy and psychology has created the problem, has created a much bigger problem, because it has created a story of brokenness, a story of disorder, and people believe in this story. I work with people every day who struggled, but once they were told they were diagnosed with a problem, everything changes for them. It's almost a badge of honor, an excuse, a loss of responsibility. It's not me, it's my disorder, my illness, this externalizing, like an addiction. We have gone down the wrong path. I really believe that. And I looked at everything that happened to me and I realized I didn't fix my life. I didn't remake my life. I didn't go back and do it better or something, improve my life. I left it. I left the story behind because it didn't serve me. And I realized I don't need a story. No one needs a story. A story is memories from yesterday and imaginations for tomorrow. That's where it lives. You and I are together right here, right now, in this moment. That's all we are. It is all we will ever be. And when we are here together, in attention with one another, our minds cannot go to the past and pull up a memory. Our minds cannot drift into the future and have some anxious thought about something I have to do tomorrow, because we're present, because we're here. And when we are here, there's no story. That story is baggage. It doesn't exist. And the more that clarity came to me, all of a sudden everything fell away. There are no problems. There are no pains. There's no worry. There's no regret. There's no anxiety. There's only now. And now is perfect. You are the most important person on planet Earth is Gina. There is no one more important. Why would I say that? Because if you weren't here, there wouldn't be a world for you. You would never hug someone, tell them they love you, tell them you love them. Nothing would be experienced. So you must be the most important person on the planet. And so are the other 8 billion
Exactly.
of us, just as important. And the unity is we are all one. We are a life force energy shared together in this world.
So
And
what are
so,
some advice you would give to people to leave their story? Because I understand your concept. I do agree. We use different term,
yes.
as for we say healing, because again, everybody's definition of healing is different. So when you leave certain things behind, now some are much easier. Some
Yeah.
are very hard because some of them, the story has I would say it's like a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a classroom, so you cannot graduate until you learn, because otherwise it will haunt you. It's not say, hey, come follow me. No, those memories, they follow you. I'll give you an example. Myself, I left my parents, not left, I moved away when I was 15. And as a 15 years old girl, thought that when I leave further and further, our connection would be less and less, right? It
Yeah.
worked at a certain time when you're 15, 18, go to middle school, go to high school, college, and work. And until one day I decided to come to the United States. I'm literally travel across. You dig a hole from United States is back to China.
Yeah.
When you just change your surrounding, I left, right? I left them. I left my story in my country. But those things are energetically, they followed me, and they from the whispering to me when I graduate, have kids, number one, number two, until they build up enough this energy, because before you always get you busy, right? You're social, you're working. Now when you're a full-time mom, you don't have much of communication with adults. You don't have much of a social connection with the outside, because I literally was isolated with babies. You cannot communicate with them, emotion, right? But they are
Yeah.
not be able to verbally. So
Yeah.
I would say, like, I thought I left my stories long ago. Oh, they
Yeah.
were more present because, oh, Gina, this way she didn't see it. We need to show her a little bit more. So the things, until I was wrapped with darkness. So what I'm saying here is, what are some technique you use, or what are some advice for people to first of all to recognize their story, right? Second of all, what is your suggestion for people to leave their story? Because if you tell me about it, ask me. I tried it, didn't work until I had the depression, until I was totally, there are certain things happen for me. First one is one book called Maybe It's Not You. I still have it on the bookshelf. I forgot what's the author's name. That was just like you shared with me when the guy said, show me yesterday. For me, it was that book, Maybe It's Not You. And I thought everything is because me, I don't deserve, da 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 da. Until I read that book, it showed me that certain things that I'm living, my behavior is actually from my parents, right? That nobody told you those things. You just like this. This is Gina do. That's how I talk, how I behave, how I treat people. But through that book, I realized, oh man, there are so many, maybe 60%, 65% from my father, 30% from my mom. Let's say maybe 50 from my father, 30 from my mom, and another 20 are from my boss, boyfriend, whoever. So I realized that who is Gina? Let me discover that, because who am I if I strip away those my father's traits, my mother's traits, my boss, da 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 da. Who's Gina? I was like, actually, I don't know her at all, because I completely lost her. She's not happy, right? There's three things. She's not
Yeah.
happy. She doesn't see beauty in herself or in the world. She didn't feel love. Yeah, I give all my love to my kids, to the husband, to whoever, but I didn't love myself, right? So
Right.
I didn't have all those three things. Then I went through a healing journey, when I do believe healing. So that's why I was like, okay, yeah, different perspectives. So of what is your definition of the healing? Because I went through this meditation, breath work, sound healing, repairing or helping me reconnect the true version, which is my inner child. So that is my experience. But, everybody's story is different, right? Back to you. What are something work for you that people, if they don't take my approach, or what are some approach in the world, or how we solve the equation, because you are solving your own equation, or you solved. I'm solving mine. I don't know whether I solved. I'm still solving my own equation because I still have many years left, hopefully. And I see the world is beautiful right now. Of course, I have some frustration because the things doesn't go the way you want it. That's a different story, right? That's a different story. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've got 1,000 things to say from that. but one thing I do want to say, I know it's
Yeah.
controversial. You can't love yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
It's impossible to love ourselves. We are love.
Mm,
We are made of love.
yeah.
What we've done is covered it up and disbelieved it. And so we use the term, you need to learn to love yourself. Really, it is, you need to learn to uncover yourself and see yourself because you are love. Okay.
I like the idea. First of all, I thank you. It's the first time it actually makes sense. You are, people always say, yes, you are love, we are love, right? So I like the idea of instead of learn how to love yourself is learn to uncover yourself. So allow the love shine, allow the love come out, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when I say that we are all love, beauty, and happiness, that is our natural state. You can't seek happiness and find it. You can't love yourself and you can't see beauty because you are those things. You can only uncover yourself and then your beauty goes into the world and the world is reflected back beautifully. Your
Is
love
that
goes
also
into the
mean?
world.
Is that also this one reminds me of a not a quote, but as within, so without. So if there's within, you don't
Yes,
recognize
yes.
that. So without, you would not, because universe will reflect you what you believe inside. So if I don't recognize
Not
the
believe, not believe. No, not
okay,
believe. It is truth. It is who you are. It's not a belief. You are this. You don't believe this. The belief is the love myself. That's a belief right there. You are love. That is a truth. You don't believe it. It is. It is just covered.
okay, so okay, yeah, I totally understand what you say. However, when you tell people if they don't recognize who they are, if the truth within is so hard to for the truth without, because if you don't tell me, let's say I'm this drink inside of it, right? If I myself, I will not see it because I am that tea inside it. That's the external. That's why I think sometimes story is very powerful. One way I say, like there's different stories. Okay, some story allow me to see who truly or realize who I truly am. Some story only made me believe that I'm not a tea. Maybe actually I'm a poison. So
But
we will need.
that's
Mhm.
what the story points at. The story is covering who you really are. The story is the covering, is the blinding to yourself. So you said, okay, what are the practical things we have to look at to
Yeah.
actually step forward, to get rid of our story, to end it, to kill our story? And I think it begins here. We have to understand what a memory is. 75% of Gina's life, Gina can't remember. It's
True.
just, it cannot be remembered. Tell me what you had for breakfast on September 12th, 2013.
Yes, I also think that that's true. However, do you know also our memory is the part of called conscious ones in subconscious. In subconscious, those memories always there in the library. Now, certain things stay in my mind. Of course, I don't remember, but do you have you ever had a feeling is like something it took you a while, you thought you forgot that, and you see something, it's trigger your memory. So the memory never lost. Like our eyes actually can capture the difference is in your conscious mind and in your subconscious mind.
But it is always an idea of the memory, a
Okay, yeah, let's
sketch.
keep going. Yeah, let's
It
keep
is,
going
it is a
exploring.
sketch. You can't go to a memory in the past. You bring the sketch, the inkling, the idea of it to the present where you recreate it. And like every story, a memory is recreated every time we think it up. And it is edited, it is embellished, it is exaggerated and inflated because that is the nature of our minds. And so the reality of the memory, any memory, can be called into question for its truth. Because we were just discussing between truth and belief is the gap where the story lives, and
So do
every
you
problem in our
believe,
life is.
so do you believe that your truth and my truth is different? Or say people's truths are different?
No.
Okay, so how that okay, let me give you an example to not say prove is wrong, okay? That's very different. What I'm saying is depends on this objectively truth. The truth, that's why your world is your world. Gina's world is Gina's world because certain truths, so there are some universe truths though, right? There are some universe truths, but some truths that people, they, if you tell them, even though that's some universe truth, but because of certain things in their life, they just are gonna back to these glasses we're wearing, right? Certain truths, let's say your word you see, because colorblind, let's use colorblind. You tell, I see green. This person actually literally, I was talking to a friend, you know, so his truth that he sees that's a brown because he has colored, you know, like everybody's born different. I see that one is green, but he sees that's brown. So which truth? We all right and we all wrong because I'm in his word. It doesn't, the green doesn't exist. But when I see the green, he tell me it's brown. I was like, no, my word is this green is my ultimate universe truth. So that's why I'm saying that when we say that the, you know, the belief and the truth, you know, it really depends on what is in front of, like, let's say the car as well. I always use to say, what if I'm the mommy van because I drove a mommy van. So every setting, factory setting in my mommy van is the truth that I have in this lifetime, in this body. But what if you drive a sports car? Like my boyfriend has a car, I will not even sit in because I'll freak out when I sit in their car. Is I will not be handled that. So like his truth when he drives that car, he said, okay, when I drive car, Gina, this is what I feel. I was like, no, when I drive my car, I feel this way. So you know, like what is the truth? Like this is something that I want to discuss. You know, not just only with you. Is like we are still uncovering, discovering, exploring what is really truth. Who
I
stated
think,
that's the truth, right?
okay, Gina, I think what you're expressing
Mm-hmm.
is your interpretation of experience in your life. And the experience you interpret is within the story that you believe about yourself. That does not necessarily equate to truth.
Okay, so
Because
give us
if
a
there
definition
is
of
a
the what's the
background,
truth you're talking about. Yeah.
if there is a background truth that you, I, and every other person alive is made of this beauty and love and happiness, then why would we be living with all the baggage and pain and discomfort and struggles between each other, communicating, building relationships, broken hearts? All these things are not truth. That is experience in our story. It is believing our experience in our story, and that we say is our truth. But
So what you believe,
there is no fundamental truth to it. And the proof is you can step outside your story and it vanishes. All the things we think were truths in our life begin to vanish. They hold no power because the power is only held in your belief in them. You know gravity is true. You
yes. So
drop your
what if,
shoe and it falls to the floor. You know it. You don't have to believe it.
well,
Right?
certain place when you fall, you don't hit on floor. It's, you know, when you go into the,
You
you
know what
know,
I mean.
yes. However, okay, what's my question? So what if when you say, you know, story is bad, what if I don't think story all the story is bad? Because if you don't have those stories, you will not be the person today. So when
I'm not saying stories are bad. I'm saying the story mind that carries the emotional baggage that inflicts the harm, that's the bad part. We have a toolbox mind, right? where we are taught skills and tools and techniques and also and language, you name it, and it's stored in our brain. That's what we use when we think. The story mind arises in ourselves, a voice in our head. A thought just arrives out of nowhere, maybe a negative one, and we latch onto it and we spiral negatively down and get upset and worried and anxious. That's the story mind I'm speaking of. We keep all the skills, tools, techniques that we are, and we work with each other, and we work at our jobs, raise our kids, build relationships. What comes in from the story mind tends to be negative aspects.
So how to get rid of this negative story mind?
Right. So what's the first step I did? It came to me that I could not rebuild a life. It was too big a task. It was too difficult and painful a task. So in my destroyed life, losing everything that I thought was me, I said to myself, all I have to do is focus on today. Just get through today. AA, the only thing AA taught me was one day at a time. So I took that. And the reason I call myself a 16-hour coach, there's 24 hours in a day. If you sleep for 8 hours, you have 16 hours where you're awake and conscious.
Yeah.
In 16 hours, could I use 30 minutes to go for a walk and be a little healthier? Yeah, I could probably do that in 16 hours. Could I pay attention when I get to the fridge and make sure I pick some better foods and don't eat the junk? Yeah, I could do that in 16 hours. Could I call someone and tell them I love them or offer my support or help? Yeah, I could do that. So in one day, could I take 4 or 5 hours out and really focus on work to keep a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food in my belly? Yeah, I can do that in one day. So my life is not the past 60 years. My life is not the next 20 years. It's today. If I work 16 hours in attention and with intention to do the best I can, that's all I have to do. Each of us only ever gets one day. Tomorrow I wake up. What a gift.
You have another 16 hours, right?
I get 16 hours to do the best I can. I get a do-over. What a gift. And so that's why my latest book right there is called The Gift is the Present. The gift is today. The present is being in attention. We were all taught this. We showed up at grade 1 in school, and we were taught the secret to life. The first thing that happened to us, we all experienced it. What happened? The teacher walked to the front of the class and did this. Attention, class. Attention. We were taught the secret to life right there. Instead, we fell into our stories. We sleepwalk and daydream in the past and the future. And we're not in attention. Attention, class. We're not here. 16 hours. If you are in attention for 16 hours, you never drift into the past or the future. All your baggage vanishes. Your memories dwindle and drift away because you don't visit them. You don't support them. You don't keep them going. This has nothing to do with the toolbox mind because that's not memory. That's not belief. That is your truth. That allows you to do artwork. That allows you to sit here and speak with me on this podcast. That truth allows you to drive a car, work with your boyfriend, work with your children. That's the truth. But the stories from your imagination and memory, those are not the truth. They are beliefs, and they vanish when you are attention, class, right here.
Don't you feel those? Okay, let's use noise because I like use example to demonstrate stuff. sometimes you don't know you lost until you find yourself. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely.
So I see those stories that when we are get distracted, when people clap hands, pull you back to their present moment, because this universe has duality.
Right.
And the thing is, sometimes we don't know that how much we have until we lose it, right? The same thing is we don't know that how precious the present moment is until we got distracted everything. So that's I want to circle back because because I love my guests that we can have agree to
Mhm.
disagree,
Yes.
because I think that's the beauty of, we back to unity through diversity. Because, I never met you before, right? We just here first time spend an hour talking about this. But however, I always know that if I have good intention here, you have, spend an hour, have beautiful intention here, even though we come across different things, see things differently. But I think at the end, we can all circle back, like I think that's a beautiful thing to summarize a lot of things that, noises, those stories, like your definition of those stories, those are the noises to actually remind us what is present, what is the universal truth. I love it because I always tell people, if I'm not supposed to be here, you are not talking to me. If you're not supposed to be here, I'm not talking to you. So you are
Exactly.
my most important this person in my life, not my boyfriend, not my kids, not my cat. It's
That's right.
you, right?
That's
It's not
right.
even me because I'm speaking to you. So I think we have some fundamental alignment there, but we also
Yes.
have a little bit different how we think things. Because again, if we come here to everything's 100% same, that would be a problem. That
Yep.
would be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that
That's
we
the
can circle
beauty.
back.
That's the beauty of the 8 billion chefs cooking the same dish. The beauty
Yes.
is there's these differences that come out, but we're
Yeah.
still love and beauty and happiness together.
Exactly, exactly. So we have few minutes left. I want to ask you a couple very fun questions. But before that, how people work with you? How can they find you? What kind of things do you offer? I already know you are 16 hours coach, right? So you have how many books back there? The two books or the four books? There
Four.
you four of the books you are written, so the people can find it on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yes. So share with
Gina,
us.
all I say, Gina, is Dallas call us at gmail.com.
Okay.
We don't need more than that. Today, you can't even hide.
I know. Yeah. I was like, if you want to find me, I was like, I'm everywhere. I was like,
Exactly.
it's sometimes people's like, do you feel safe? You put all the address, all there. I was like, I just let you know one thing. If people try to locate me, it's not these days. It's not hard at all. Like your information has been everywhere, all there. You know what I'm saying? But
There
also
is
again,
nothing to be afraid of.
yeah, I trust. I was like, I do the God's work, or when we have different version of gods anyway. But
Sure.
we are here living in bigger than who this physical body is, right? Okay, I have three questions I'm gonna ask. I usually ask all my guests. Okay, that's
Okay.
fun. If you could use three words to describe you, what's those words are?
We've said it over and over already today.
That
Love,
happy?
love,
Okay.
beauty, happiness.
Okay. Well, then you already skipped one question, right? Okay. Second one. If the time could go back, if we could go back to time, you can speak to little Dallas. What you gonna say to him?
Nothing. He wouldn't listen.
Yeah. I don't know whether the younger Gina would listen, but she probably won't believe me anyway. You know what I'm saying? She's like, "You crazy lady, come from nowhere."
You had a path. That path is not going to change. You
Yeah.
had to walk this road.
Exactly. So that's why I don't think that I made a mistake or wrong path is part of my experience getting me to today.
That's
But
right.
doesn't mean I will still carry those story with me.
No,
Right?
exactly.
Exactly. So I appreciate I have gratitude for my past, but my future is like I can choose different stories or the good stories, which is the present ones, with me. Okay, last one. What is your definition of a live a fulfilled life? What's your definition of living a fulfilled life?
To become who you are.
And it's the truth, right? The truth version, the true
Yes,
version.
not to achieve anything,
Yeah.
not to grow into anything, not to get anything,
Mm.
to be what you are right now and you've always been. You already won. There's
Yes.
nothing to win. You already got it. It's
Yeah.
just as I said, covered. Uncover yourself.
I think you need to write another book called Uncover Yourself.
Well, the book I'm writing is called The Story Mine, but underneath it, it says uncovering.
I'm writing my own story. I try to come up a name, uh, and I keep having because on whatever the UN that too this is very powerful. I was like, because I see this box, right? Because we all trapped by different boxes. So I'm like, either I'm saying unboxing or unlocking or untethering, whatever that would be, but it would be UN on whatever. I don't know. Like I haven't figured out the title yet. I'm going through my storyline.
Unboxing Gina.
Yeah, unboxing Gina. I'm unboxing little G. I don't know. But I will let you know. You will know once I get that out. I'm in a slow process because there's so many things happening in life, but it's I choose it. So I need to choose, kind of because you manifest a lot of things in your life. I manifest a very busy life
Everything.
right now. So it's
Everything.
like, okay, Gina, how can you unmanifest certain things that not gonna feel that I'm cutting the cord is gonna waste so much. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
But yeah, and I really appreciate you. I know certain parts we get a little bit, kind of, but I think that's the very authentic part of who we are, human beings.
Absolutely.
So I really thank
Absolutely.
you for holding space. We are holding space for each other. Allow us to go dive deeper. And I wish you all the best on the journey. And I will see you soon. And so thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, Gina. It's been a
And
pleasure.
thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Unity Through Diversity. And I will see you next week. Thank you.